Jennifer Capriati. She was a tennis prodigy in freefall. At 14, she was an Olympic darling, but by 17, she was in a Florida mugshot. How did it happen? Shoplifting $15 rings because pressure felt heavier than gold. Her comeback story looked neat on paper though, and was one for the ages. 3 Grand Slams and the #1 ranking. Not bad, right? But retirement ripped off the bandage. Away from the crowd, she flipped. Painkillers became a habit and she went into severe depression. In 2010, she overdosed and the news dubbed this as a suicide attempt. It wasn't over for her just yet. In 2013, the cops picked her up again for assault and battery after a messy breakup. Charges were dropped, but the headlines screamed louder than any Williams sister forehand she'd ever faced. Today, all seems to be going well for her. She preaches mental health awareness on Instagram Live, but the glaze in her eyes still shows one question: how did it all go sideways? Her story isn't the cartoon psychotype, it's of the raw and unfiltered aftermath of teenage stardom. A reminder that the wildest rallies sometimes happen inside the skull. Bob Hewitt. Hewitt was golden in doubles, 15 majors, a Davis Cup, Hall of Fame bronze bust in Newport, but off the court? He preyed on the girls he coached. Yes, you heard it right. It had been going on for years, but no one had a clue. Decades later, some brave survivors decided to speak up against him. They showed graphic letters, threats, and assaults dating back to the 80s. South African prosecutor dragged the 75-year-old into the court in 2015. Hewitt was found guilty on 2 rape charges and 1 sexual assault on minors. His total sentence? 6 years. The Hall of Fame turned into Hall of Shame. His sponsors vanished, and tennis collectively hit the delete button on him. Hewitt did appeal, though. He blamed it on faded memories, claimed frail health, but the judges were buying none of it. He ended up serving 3 years and got out on medical parole in 2020, but his name remains radioactive. It's the darkest corner of tennis history. His stories are now footnotes to unforgivable crimes. Whenever fans stroll the Hall of Fame grounds, they pass an empty pedestal. It's proof that some forehands echo forever, but for all the wrong reasons. Boris Becker. Now this one's a mix of both tragic and wild. Boris Becker was once the golden boy of tennis. He won Wimbledon at 17, but after retirement, he basically tried to speedrun a crime documentary. First up, he was facing a lot of tax issues. I mean, this guy owed millions. Then bankruptcy hit him. Then he started hiding assets. And then finally, in 2022, he was sentenced to prison in the UK. Actual jail time for hiding trophies, property, and cash to avoid paying debts. But it wasn't just about the money. Becker even allegedly tried to claim diplomatic immunity by becoming a sports ambassador for the Central African Republic. Yup, that's right. And the country was like, we don't even know who this dude is. The man basically tried to Uno reverse card his way out of a prison sentence, but nothing worked for him and he ended up serving 8 months behind bars. Imagine telling Boris in 1985, hey, you'll win Wimbledon 3 times and then get jailed for trying to hide your Olympic gold under your girlfriend's name. That guy would have smashed his wooden racket over your head. Becker's out now, doing podcasts and interviews like he was away on a vacation. But bro, you went from center court to cell block. Ilie Nastase. Okay, Nastase's the guy your grandparents warned you about. A rock star with a tennis racket in the 70s, this guy was creating havoc before retirement. But after he said goodbye to the sport, oh boy, someone forgot to turn off his crazy switch. Nastase was supposed to be an ambassador of the game. Instead, he became the embarrassment of the game. In 2017, as Romania's Fed Cup captain, Nastase made racist remarks about Serena Williams' unborn baby, hit on the female British captain during a match, then launched into a profanity-laced tirade at officials, players, and journalists. He did it during the match, and in front of children. Nastase was banned by the officials immediately, but unfortunately, that wasn't the end for him. He got caught twice driving without a license. One of those times, he was even allegedly drunk and on a scooter. This guy turned his retirement into Grand Theft Auto, Bucharest Edition. And when someone questions him about his behavior, he just shrugs and says something like, I can't do anything about it, it's just my personality. Bro, personality doesn't get you escorted off the court like a WWE heel. Nastase is proof that sometimes retirement doesn't mellow you out. Instead, it gives you more time to just act insane. Roscoe Tanner. Tanner's left arm was a cannon, and his bank account was a sieve. But after his retirement, the 1,979 Wimbledon finalist bounced more checks than tennis balls. Boats, cars, and even a solar panel scam. When the authorities started to get closer to him, he skipped a court date and fled to Germany under an alias. But the guy was extradited in 2005, and he spent nearly 2 years in prison serving time for fraud and unpaid child support. When he was finally released, Tanner was completely broke. He got the idea of running kid clinics. It worked out for a while until the parents decided to Google him. It's not like he's disappeared now. He shows up these days pitching pickleball lessons, swearing to the world that he's a completely changed man now. But the cautionary moral lands harder than his 153 miles per hour serve. A booming delivery is totally useless when creditors are quicker at the net. Mary Pierce. Mary's bazooka forehand terrified opponents, but her real fight wasn't on the tennis court. It was across the net from her own father. Jim Pierce drilled teenage Mary like a Marine, hurled insults at her, and also allegedly slapped hitting partners. The WTA finally banned him in 1993. Can you guess what he did to get banned? He threatened to kill a player's dad. Mary Pierce soared on court. She had 2 Grand Slams and Fed Cup glory to her name, but retirement dragged her trauma back to life. She suffered panic attacks, was having trust issues, and estrangement haunted her 30s. Pierce found refuge in faith ministries, speaking about forgiveness while acknowledging scars that never completely disappear. Her psycho chapter belongs to her abuser, but her survival arc packs a bigger punch than any highlight reel. It's proof that you can escape the baseline of fear and still choose love over rage. Mardy Fish. In 2012, primetime Arthur Ashe Stadium expected a night match thriller, but they didn't get their money's worth. Why? Because Mardy Fish locked himself in a locker room shower. His heartbeat was sprinting, and he was convinced that his time on this earth is about to end. The official reason? Cardiac arrhythmia. The real culprit of this was his panic disorder, which was so severe that he couldn't fly without grabbing a stranger's arm. Retirement came early for him, and then isolation followed. But then Fish did the unthinkable for macho sports culture. He came out and owned it. Netflix's Untold Breaking Point turned his breakdown into a playbook for mental health transparency. He didn't face any arrests, didn't do any scams. It was just a mind-waging civil war for him. His story is a reminder for people that sometimes the psycho plot twist is silent, invisible, and happening 2 feet behind the baseline that no camera sees. Agassi. Okay, so this one's a completely different level of psycho. Deeply introspective, almost philosophical, but still equally insane. Agassi revealed in his autobiography Open that he hated tennis for most of his career. Not just disliked it, hated it. He said playing tennis felt like he was trapped inside a prison, and he only kept on going because his dad forced him to. Things got even crazier after that, because then he confessed to using crystal meth during his playing days. Crystal meth? He lied to the ATP to cover it up. No suspensions, no headlines, just a casual, "Yeah, I was high for a whole year." Agassi then vanished into philosophy, married Steffi Graf, and started a school. It's like the man went from drug-fueled burnout to being a motivational speaker overnight. His psycho energy isn't violent or loud, it's a quiet storm. The guy you think is zen until you read his story and realize he was one more loss away from disappearing into the desert and starting his own cult. Jimmy Connors. Jimmy didn't exactly go full psycho after retirement, but he went full bitter. Connors could have been a wise old sage after his retirement, but he became tennis's cranky old man who yells at clouds. His autobiography was basically 400 pages of, "I was right and everyone else sucked." Then, he launched a podcast where he roasts everyone from Nadal to the line judges. One week he's ranting about how underarm serves are too cowardly. The next he's saying modern tennis has become too soft, the players are weak, and no one has balls anymore. Believe it or not, that's an actual quote. Connors also briefly coached Maria Sharapova, but that didn't last long as he was fired after just 1 game. He even claimed that Novak Djokovic fakes injuries and that Federer was too nice to dominate. Like, come on, Is he just mad because no one uses wooden rackets anymore? Or what? Jimmy didn't go to jail, but he turned his retirement into a never-ending roast session with himself as the only audience. Nick Kyrgios. Now, he hasn't retired yet, but he's definitely a future psycho in waiting. You all know it's coming. And when it does, you better believe that we're about to witness peak psycho content. Kyrgios already acts like a guy in his third act. He skips Grand Slams, roasts players on Instagram, and plays poker instead of tennis. The guy even admitted that he doesn't like tennis that much. He said he could retire tomorrow and be fine with it. Now imagine what will happen when he actually retires. He'll either become a Twitch streamer who roasts Djokovic daily, or start an MMA league with Tomic and Bernard. Either way, his psycho status is still pending, but it's obviously guaranteed. If you enjoyed this one, subscribe to the channel, because I'll be posting a lot here. Until next time.